Well, looks like I'm alive. Hello, folks. How we doing? Thrash Pondo here, and I'm starting up my Sunday Night Live chat, waiting for all you folks to start piling in. Yep, pouring in any minute now. Yeah, any minute now. Well, in your defense, I'm actually a little bit early. Yeah, as always, I go on a few minutes early to allow for any possible issuettes that might happen. And today there weren't any, so I'm here early. And Tracy Roth Myers is here first. Hey, Bubba, how you doing? Did you catch up on the sleep you lost watching the coronation? Tug is here. Says hello, Thrash man. Tug, so nice to see you again today. By the way, sorry I came in late. I was doing a bunch of little things around the house, and the whole day got away with me. But Tug put on a great podcast today on the best moms or everyone's favorite moms or the most notorious moms in film. Lance Chafin is here, says, Hiya, Thrash. Lance, hey, man, how's it going? Glad you could make it. Keithy says, Dodgers, we don't need no stinking Badgers. I'm guessing that first one was also supposed to be Badgers. Badgers! We don't need no stinking Badgers. And Keith, yeah, I saw you doing the wordplay with the Camilla, but I couldn't bring myself to call that person the Queen. But I did see where you were going, by the way. Very, very witty, very witty. Zublik says, I hear there was another tragedy in Texas. Yes, this time in a mall. The death count by my last update was 9, but there are some people who are very, very badly injured that may go up. Terrible, terrible tragedy. Perhaps we should observe a moment of silence. My heart goes out to the poor victims. What do you mean is here? It says, hey everyone, what do you mean? Love the series on dad jokes. You know the routine, people. If you haven't subscribed to What You Mean, please do so. Tracy Rothmeyer says, yep, that was me babbling. You weren't babbling, by the way. You were very sincere. Let's just see what we get going on the chat. A lot of people having fellowship saying hi to each other. Zublik says, late. You are early, T-Pons. Oh, no. You guys weren't late. I was telling you guys that you weren't late. I had actually come on early, by the way. I'm sorry if I explained that backwards. I'm always afraid I'm going to be late. Remember last week I was actually a minute or two late because I didn't allow for little mishaps. So today I did, and there weren't any, so I got here earlier. Zuplik says 7 died in an intentional car accident as well. Wow. Been a bad day for Texas, I'm afraid. Hearts go out. Crossing the door. Hey, what's going on, Justin? So great to see you again, by the way. He says, greetings. Keithy says, hello, everyone. I just can't type that fast, but you have my Bigelow, especially Lance, who I missed yesterday, old. And yes, we missed you yesterday as well, by the way. Zublik says 9 died in a shooting and 7 died in a car crash. Thank you for being our official scoreboard. But yes, very, very tragic events in Texas indeed. Let's just see what else we got going here. Oh, Doug says, hello, door crossing person. Len says, Tug, I missed your mom stream. Sorry. Your mom missed your mom stream. I'm sorry that didn't really work, but it was the best I could do on such short notice. Let's see. Sean Ennis is here, and he's saying hello to pretty much everyone in the chat. Sean, so glad you could make it. Welcome aboard. Oh, Ed Tug says, no worries, Lance. Attendance isn't mandatory yet. LOL. I know weekends can be hard for people. Yeah, they can be. They can. Well, I work weekends, and I still try to get all the weekend stuff done out of the way. So I don't work on Sundays, so Sundays are pretty good, but weekends as a whole can be kind of a dicey. Cindy D is here. Says hello, Tracy with Myers and Lance Chafin. And wish me luck, guys. I got one of those pop-ups, and last time I tried to make one of those goes away, it went away by itself. The matter has been resolved. The power of positive thinking. And I'm actually caught up. Lance Chafin says, "Tug, when's our next stream? Still waiting on Thrash's shirt." I glad you mentioned that, Lance. I actually ordered mine today. I actually ordered two so I can rotate. I'm sure my wife will want to use one as a night shirt or a tent. But yeah, I ordered two. I should get them. Sadly, I won't have them for Wednesday's Retropalooza with Dave, but I will have them soon. I'll have to make do with my retro TV shirt. And if I remember correctly, Tug said next Sunday is going to be our symposium on dystopian fiction, not post-apocalyptic, dystopian as a rule. Although there's a lot of crossover, and I'm brushing up on my. It's my comfort zone. Let's face facts, but I'm brushing up. There's a lot more out there that even I find. I mean that 2017. No, that wasn't part of a science fiction show. That was part of a show called Name of the Game. Although I'm really surprised I still hadn't heard of it. And Tracy says, Robert, what goes into a hurricane? Oh, the scorpions. I believe it's rum. It's basically a fruit punch. It's rum, grenadine, sour mix, and it's either orange or pineapple. I'm not a big rum drinker. I'm more gin. I love me my gin. A lot of people make fun of me for that. They go, "What do you like gin?" And I go, "It tastes like pine needles." And they go, "And when do you eat pine needles?" But I think that's the recipe. Tug says 2 weeks from today, at the usual time. Okay, so it won't be next Sunday. It'll be the following Sunday. I will make sure I'm there. Give me more chance to do some more of my homework. Tug says I should watch Night of the Comet again before then. You can't watch Night of the Comet too many times. And they're still talking about a sequel. How? They'd be pushing 60 now. Uh, Crossing the Door says, what goes into a hurricane? Warm water at the surface and circulation. Great minds think alike, Justin. Great minds think alike. Zublik says, you never heard of the name of the game. Oh, no, 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 no. I heard of the name of the game, but it was my understanding it was more of it with Gene Barry. It was more of an action series or drama about the sort of intrigues going on in American society and the pressures of being a magazine mogul. I didn't know they made shows that were future post-apocalyptic. I wish I had because have you guys actually seen 2017 LA 2017? Mark Zickery presented it. It's actually pretty good. I don't tell you too much about it. I don't know, ruin it for you, but Tom Lemery is here. Tom, I'm so glad you could make it. He says Zuper is that song by ABBA. One night at Waterloo, Napoleon did surrender. And let's see. And Tug says run and I'm sorry, rum and fruit punch is all that is necessary. Used to have a lot of those when I lived in Florida, but Thrash's recipe is the official one. Well, at least that's how we make it in my place. Of course, like so many other drinks, particularly unless it's like a Tom Collins, you go into 20 different restaurants, there'll be 20 different recipes. A lot of people saying hello to Tom. Big Guys 45 is here. He says, I'm here. Oh, Big Guys, I've got an explanation for you. Apparently, there was some problem with my wife's Twitter account. She had to close it out. She hasn't opened a new one yet, but I mentioned your channel and Kevin 76's channel, by the way. Kevin Scott 76, I'm sorry. He has one, Vile Man. I'm sorry, Viola Man. I'm being a silly. Big Guy says, my battery is low, though, so I can only stay for a little while. I'm glad you decided to come by as much as you could. Tracy says, I watched Blackula last night. It was hilarious. I love that movie. That movie is so great. And isn't Marlene from Repo Man? Doesn't she have a part in it? By the way, I might be getting two actresses confused, and I'll feel terrible if I am. But anyway, I do love Blackula. Liz Jiven says I ordered all the Friday the 13th for 1989. Not bad. It is so not. Oh, Cindy D says good movie. Tracy Roth Myers. It certainly is. Crossing the door says Thrash. What is vodka, peach schnapps, blackberry liqueur, and pineapple juice? Vodka peach would be a fuzzy navel if you added orange. If you had peach and blackberry liqueur, that one I'm not familiar with off the top of my head. Sounds good though. I used to love blackberry brandy. The book says Gene Berry was a magazine publisher, and his reporters were Tony Francioso, Fran, 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 him, and Robert Stack. Dennis D'Elia was here. Hey, Dennis, what's going on, man? Is the bar still open? The Bronx is in the house. Hello, Thrash, and my fellow Thrashers. Save me an absolute and Tropicana ruby red grapefruit. That would be a greyhound, even with the ruby red. When you mix vodka and grapefruit juice, it's a greyhound. If you salt the rim, it's a salty dog or a thirsty dog or some kind of dog, you dog. Big Guy says, I'm trying to get to 100 followers by my birthday. I'm only at 47 followers on my TikTok page so far. Hopefully, I'll get there really soon, one day sooner or later. I have the utmost confidence in you. And by the way, as I'm more or less caught up, as Zuplik says, T-Pons, how much do you charge for beer? For the imported or microbrew, $6 a glass. For well, the only other one we have is Bud Light, which is $5, and that's for the 14-ounce bar pint. Isn't it ridiculous? When I was in college, there were still dollar drafts. But anyway, while I have a moment, tonight's topic, as you guys know, is going to be everyone's favorite comedy. Well, I have a question before I move any further. I was going to do it just variety shows, but then are not sketch comedy shows, are they not the kid brother of variety shows? The only real difference between the two is variety shows brought in different talents from like all over the place, and the talents weren't necessarily comedy. Comedy shows, it was a group, a cast. They had their own in-house players, and they would perform sketches of various kinds. Whereas a variety show usually it was just one impresario and maybe a couple of impresario helpers. But like, take for example, Saturday Night Live in its heyday, it wasn't just the not ready for primetime players doing sketches. They would have guest comedians, musical act, all kinds of good stuff. So there's a certain sense of variety there as well. But yes, we're going to be talking about everybody's favorite variety shows and sketch comedy shows, if you wish to add those as well. And I just jumped a little, so I'm going to have to. Oh, I think I'm actually caught up. A lot of people just having fellowship, which is half the fun of the show. And Cindy says she will follow. Big Guys 45, Cindy, that's very kind of you. Tom says we'll be here a short time. Well, I'm glad you can stay as long as you can, Tom. It's so nice of you to make it. Welcome to the party, as always. So good to see you. Stay as long as you can. Shannon says, Zuplex, by the way, really liked your chat comments on Tug's stream today. I have to watch it in replay. And John Collins says, Bob, besides me, whom is part of Bob's shirted coalition? Bob, are you a part of your it, as I indeed am? The shirt is stellar, Bob. When you were a child, did you ever imagine a shirt in your honor. No, I never imagined such an honor, and it is onerous. I have ordered my shirts. I ordered two. I haven't received them yet. Lance ordered a shirt, and he has not received it as yet. Keith ordered a shirt or two. I can't remember. Keith ordered his shirts. I can't remember if he said I thought he said he got them, but anyway, he has ordered them. I believe. Oh, by the way, shout out to Tom the Hungry Jerk. I believe he said he ordered his shirt as well. Oh, and while we're at it, shout out to Baked Beans. Um, Often you guys can't make it to the live shows. Tom has to work, and Baked Beans is in a different time zone. So I want to thank you guys for joining me in replay. Crossing the Door says, did there used to be Tim Hortons in Rhode Island back in early 2000s? Um, I don't recall seeing Tim Hortons in Rhode Island. You could buy the coffee in the stores, but I don't recall seeing Tim Hortons. Um, of course, New England. It's always Dunkin's. Hey, Dunkin's, man, let's go to Dunkin's. And I just jumped. So give me a second. Bap. Scrolling back. Oh, a lot of people having fellowship and saying hi to each other. That's optimum. Lance Javen says, hit that like button, folks. Thank you with thumbs up. Big S45 says, Cindy, my TikTok is called Sparks Dude 1974. Cindy says, I already did, Lance. Excellent. Thank you very much, Cindy. Zuplik says, thank you very much, Tug. Oh, unapologetic, I should say. Tug says, thanks, Lance. I actually forgot. Daryl Johnson in the house says, Bob, other brother Daryl, how you doing, man? Great to see you. So glad you could make it. Cindy D says, okay, thanks, guys. I will look it up. I live TikTok. Yes, Sparks Dude 1974. I hope you enjoy. Sean Innes says, Suplex not while it live stream. I watched a little while ago. Had to leave a comment suggestion for D Wallace as the mother in Cujo and or ET. She was amazing. Melanie Dill, I don't know. See, I didn't want to shout out anyone in the last few minutes because I was afraid I would shout out someone that you guys had already talked about ad nauseum, and I would look foolish. But did anyone mention Melanie Dillon? Not just her Christmas story, but for Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That was what I was dying to mention. And the one I will mention in the comments section after I watch the show. Daryl said, hey, David is, which David is here? There are several. Zuplik says, greatest variety show ever was the Ed Sullivan Show. It had all the great stars of the day. It really is. There is before the Ed Sullivan Show and after the Ed Sullivan Show. It is the variety show to which all others are measured. Let's just see. The life and set ending is here. It says, heck, I don't even have a shirt. And I just crossed the Are You Sitting Down? 216,000 subs. 216,000? That's redonkadonk. I'm at like 240. I don't mean 240,000. I mean 240. You know what? You and I need to do it on the live stream, and I need to shamelessly beg your subscribers to subscribe to me. In fact, I'm going to beg now. Everyone, Bob's shameless plea for subscribers, please. Subscribe, preferably subscribe. And anyway, 216? Everybody, please congratulate Steve. 216, that's very, very impressive. Daryl John says, "Oh no, a T-shirt scam. It's on Dave's merch channel. Not quite a scam, but I applaud your vigilance, Daryl." Zublik says, "Too bad you couldn't contribute, Sean. I am sure your contributions would have been much appreciated. His are always amazing." And a lot of people saying hello, particularly to Steve. And I'm gonna just catch up here really quick. Zublik says, Melinda Dillon. I said Melanie Dillon, didn't I? I am always doing that. Thank you, Superplex. You're like my human fact checker. Yes, Melinda Dillon, not Melanie Dillon. I don't know why. Mental block. Tug says we did talk about Melinda Dillon. Thrash. Good, because she was deserving of said. Zublik says, yes, T-Pawns, I did. Sean Innes says, Zublik did me tune Close Encounters and Christmas Story when it came up. Oh, so those were the two that were also mentioned by you guys as well. She probably did another one I can't think of the top of my head. Oh, wow! I had completely forgotten this. Life and Dead Ending said Melinda Dillon was in Slapshot. Love the movie Slapshot. I haven't seen it. God, probably since I was in college. I haven't seen it in years. I don't recall her being in it. I'm sure she is. I don't know if she was a mother, unless she was a mother to those Canadian hockey players that beat everybody up. Best part of the movie. Remember the kid loses his glasses, so he can't specifically find which one fouled him. So he just keeps grabbing guys and wailing on him. Shanina says, oops, typos galore. Sorry, it's quite all right. I read typos. Dave said that's hysterical when I read things verbatim and don't try to fix it. Although every now and then it will say something that's a little, oops, off color. That actually happened to me earlier. I was sending somebody a message, and I can't remember what the misspelling was because I can't remember what the word was. But if I had sent it, it would have been something naughty. Let's just see. Lance Steven says Melinda Dillon was in The Great Outdoors and Harry and the Hendersons as well. Excellent. So she played mothers in those as well. Tracy Rothmeyer says, I have TikTok, but I don't go on it too much. Crossing the Door says, I think I'd pick Carol Burnett over Ed Sullivan. Ooh. Well, matter of personal choice. I absolutely loved the Carol Burnett show. When I was a kid, they syndicated it. So I would come home from school, probably sixth grade, seventh grade, and it would just be coming on TV. So I would watch the Carol Burnett show while I was doing my homework. Superlix says, Naughty, Naughty Life. Melinda Dillon was topless in that movie. That's who it was. Okay, yes, I do remember her vividly. I didn't remember it was Melinda Dillon, though. Let's just see. Do Bobby Renee is here. High host with the most. Bobby Renee. Just walk away, Renee. So glad you could make it, Bobby. Welcome to the party, as is always. A lot of people having fellowship. Big Guys 45 reminds Tracy, if you want to follow my TikTok at SparksDude1974. Thanks. Crossing the Door says there's confusion in here. Melinda Dillon wasn't in The Great Outdoors. That was Stephanie Pharisee. Well, you know those lawyers and Pharisees, they'll get you every time. But thank you for the clarification. Ziplik says Ed Sullivan had Elvis and the Beatles. Would be cool if it was the same night. But you're right. In fact, if I remember anecdotally correctly, Ed Sullivan introduced the Beatles to the United States. They probably would have found their way here anyway, but it was actually that appearance which really put them on the map in America. And how did it go? He was in England doing a talent search, and the airport was so mobbed with the Beatles fans waiting for them to come back from Germany that it like crashed Heathrow Airport. And Ed Sullivan said, anyone who can create that type of stir needs to be on my show. How much of what I just said is accurate? Superplex, I'm certain you can correct any glaring inconsistencies in my story. Oh, Les James says, okay, Doris, sorry. Hey, no worries. I get things wrong all the time. Little discrepancies and whatnot. We all remember things differently. I actually, when I worked in the video store many years ago, a lady asked for a copy of Yours, Mine, and Ours with Lucille Ball and Henry Fonda. And I said, Jason Robards? And she said, no, Henry Fonda. I go, I think you'll find Jason Robards. And we found it. And as I'm sure you guys are already there, I was wrong. It was Henry Fonda. And she took the greatest joy in showing how I was wrong. I don't know where that came from, but for some reason, I could even see him in the white naval uniform. I remembered Jason Robards in that movie, and it was in fact Henry Fonda. So the mind is a funny thing. Benjamin says Melinda was in A Christmas Story. That's probably the movie she's best known for, except for the sci-fi geeks who remember her best from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. But in mainstream America, the movie that she is best known for will always be The Christmas Story. Mrs. Thresh is walking by and says hello to everyone. So say hello to hi, Mrs. Thresh, in the spirit of you guys. Zublik says, yes, he did. I saw it. Zublik says, no, I cannot. But it was Jack Parr who first mentioned the Beatles on American television. Okay, so the Ed Sullivan anecdote is correct, but Jack Parr somehow mentioned them first in some way, so they did get some buzz. Yeah, if Jack Parr talked about you in the early '60s, that was pretty big stuff. So, yes, they certainly had a bone before being on Ed Sullivan. Oh, here we go. Hello, Mrs. Thrash. Thank you for watching me. Oh, and Tom says just listening. Yes, Tom, I threw you a shout out a minute ago. I shall now shout you out another shout out. Hey, Tom, no, you're just listening and can't really be interactive, but hope you enjoy the show. Elizabeth Javen, hi, Mrs. Thrash. Gordon. She's a miracle. She puts up with me. That's pretty miraculous. So, only 13 viewers so far tonight. Well, we'll endeavor to persevere. I'm sure a few more people will kick on or kick off, or maybe no one cares about variety shows. Zublick says he showed a film clip, but it was without sound. Helpful. By then, Jack had left the Tonight Show. Oh, and Johnny Carson had already taken over. Dennis DeLeo said Burl and Caesar were the grandfathers of early TV variety shows, but the shows were all about them, despite guest stars. Sullivan was just an MC, but he owned the show. He certainly did. He was what they call an impresario, a presenter. He brought the talent to you. 11 Zenning says, I just invited some of my viewers to join us. Steve, I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough. It looks like a couple of them are actually coming in. Wonderful. Owe you one. And to all Steve's friends, welcome to the party. Please like and subscribe. And there it is. And yes, Burl and Caesar, yeah, they basically had entourages, and they would always be the center, or generally be the center of the sketch. It's pretty much what Benny Hill did. Though I love the Benny Hill show, yeah, it was basically a love letter to himself. From what I understand, the Chevy Chase show was going to be something like that as well, only a little less egocentric, if you can believe it. It wasn't going to be a traditional talk show. He was going to have guests come on, and rather than do an interview with the guest, they would do a skit with him. And he would do rotating skits with different guests throughout the show, and sometimes they'd be in more than one skit. And it actually sounded promising, but the TV network said, no, 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 we want a traditional late night talk show, which was not his comfort zone. Tug said, I'm also multitasking. If somebody in the chat is talking to me, I'm not ignoring you, I promise. Oh, Uncle Joe is here. Raw and unprepared. Hey, Thrash. Hey, everyone. Uncle Joe, so glad you could make it. By the way, I got to tell you, that amazing art you've been posting on Facebook is just, I don't know, anybody who can follow me on Facebook, I repost them as often as possible. He's been putting out some really, really slick, I keep saying animation, artwork. You got to check it out. It's great stuff. And thank you for joining us, Joe. Tracy Rothmeyer says, sweet, Steve. Yes, it's very sweet. Bobby Renee says, hungry. Now that you are a mod, sorry I called you a jerk. What's his name? The hungry jerk. A lot of people having fellowship crossing the door says my favorite sketch variety show, not the 9 o'clock news, UK. UK. SCTV, not necessarily the news, DC Follies, and Carol Burnett. I remember DC Follies. It's been years. But yeah, and the British, not the 9 o'clock news, was great. And how can you not love Carol Burnett? Um, and there was C3 TV. I still watch C3 TV on YouTube. Well, it's the skits. Liz Given says you can't do that on television. Was a sketch comedy show. It was. It was. It was actually designed. It was basically a template of Rowan and Martin's Laugh It, only for middle school to early high school age children in Canada. And it actually held up to the template pretty darn well, actually. They weren't as racy as Rowan and Martin was for the time, but it definitely was a sketch comedy show for kids. Well, so was Sesame Street. They even worked in mock commercials. That's why every now and then they'd have a walk on by like a number seven or a letter I. And at the end, they'd be like, today was brought to you by the letter I and the number seven. They'd put in these mock commercials just to make it feel like regular television. Crossing says, yes, Lance, that was a great early Nickelodeon show. There's a guy, Dave. I can't think of the rest of his handle, but he does. I When I was working overnights, I could watch him on Friday nights. He does live chats on Friday nights, and he collects massive volumes of really amazing old commercials. And once or twice, he would throw on an episode of You Can't Do That on Television. It was priceless. Um, Dave. Dave something or other. Anyway, Dave, partial shout out. Big Guy says, let's JF children's television entertainment that is to be more specific. Great show, though. Daryl John says, is the art the Wonder Woman stuff I've been seeing, Bob? Oh, I'll read that again. Daryl John says, "Is the art the Wonder Woman stuff I've been seeing, Bob?" No, it's more computer graphics. It's like really, really cool, slick images that have been like sort of enhanced. It's hard to describe, but they're just really cool imagery, and I've been reposting them. So um, that's probably what you've seen, and it comes from raw and unprepared. Let's just see what else we got here. Liv Driven says, Dora, love that show. Big S 45 says, my feet are the chickens. Yes, my feet are the chickens too. Tug says, I was able to visit the set a few times as a kid, got slimed. That is so cool. Are you saying that it was actually in Nickelodeon Studios when they were in Florida? Wowzers. I thought it was filmed in Canada. I didn't really realize that they were actually filming it in the States at any point. That is like too cool. By Renee says Dave Sundstrom. Oh no. He actually does commercials too, by the way. But this is another guy, Dave's Retrovision or something like that. Oh, I'm gonna hate myself. I'm subscribed to him too. When I finish tonight, I'm actually gonna look at my subscription and say, oh, duh. But like I said, I haven't been able. I stopped working the overnight shift months ago, so I haven't been able to catch the show. Big S 45 says Thrash Pond upon. So your wife lost her TikTok password or something like that. You should also told me something about her Twitter page and account as well. So if so, that's oh well, lol. Oh no. She said so. To be honest, I didn't realize the whole situation, but apparently her her previous TikTok account is shut down, and she's opening up a new TikTok account. If I understand it correctly. I don't do TikTok, so I'm not entirely sure what her sitch was. I don't know why. But anyway, but anyway, I will keep you posted along there uh, as well, and I'll keep you posted. Watch me just back for now, and let's see what else we got going on here. Tug says my brother was a contestant on Double Dare 2. Crossing the Door says, I know it was for kids, but all that was pretty popular. Yeah, all that was actually, I think that was part of that whole 90s renaissance where you had like all that, Pete and Pete. Um, I don't know how it hasn't come up yet. Kablam. Kablam was a variety show. Only it was an animated variety show. You had the framing device, you had the two kids, and then what they would do is various animators from all over the country who are making their own little mini animations would submit to Kablam, and the best ones were actually worked into the show. So it was basically a variety show for animators. There were recurring ones like Action League Now and Prometheus and Bob, but there was always something that was like just a random submission. A lot of those were pretty darn good. Does anybody else remember Kablam? I loved Kablam. I was like pushing 32, but I used to watch it. Tug said it started in Canada and moved to Florida. I never realized it moved to Florida. That is very cool. I never realized it moved to Florida. Those studios are gone now, aren't they? Sad. Big S 45 said Dan Schneider is creepy, though. Unfortunately, he's a bad man, lol. Not a good person. I'm glad that they kicked him out of Nickelodeon, lol. If half the stuff I've heard about him is true, you're right. He's a very, very, very mumser. He is not a particularly nice person, and it's good that they got him off of Kids Network. If the stuff that we've read about him is true, I invite people to make up their own minds. Tug said, "Why did autocorrect put Canada in all caps? National pride. Oh, Canada, my home." Sorry. Actually, you do realize Canada is an anagram? Yes. Originally, it was called the Country for National Democracy. And when they went to register at the National Country Registration Department in Vienna, the person taking down their roll said, "And what is the name of your country, please?" And the representative said, CANADA. I've been working on that one. Let me know how I did. Lynn Chafin says, would the Electric Company count as a variety show? Definitely. Because again, they did have a certain crew of regulars, but they were always bringing guests in, and they had musical acts, comedy acts. I would definitely count that as a variety show. We just jumped again, so give me a second. Oh, here we are. Pig Guy says because Canada looks and sounds cooler in all caps, Mr. Geek. Couldn't agree more. Steve says SCTV was really good. It certainly was. I love SCTV. Although every now and then the cultural references have to be explained to me. Crossing says yes, I don't like Dan Schneider either, but the talented ones were the cast, not Dan. Uh, ooh, sit in a hot tub with me, Schneider? Is that an actual quote by him? Ew. Book says Canada now controls autocorrect. Oh, Canada. Steve says he blowed up real good. Tug says SCTV was great. Speaking of Canada, in all caps. Oh, by the way, I am one full quarter Canadian. Montgomery, habillé, Quebec. So if people think I'm making fun of the Canadians, it's done with a sort of uh, associated national good humor, by the way. Tracy says, does Bozo's circus count? You could make a good case for it. You actually could. I mean, yeah, because there were even lessons involved. There were even like Mr. not Mr. Wizard, but there were people would actually come out and do scientific experiments and whatnot. So it was even part educational in addition to the kids' comedy. You could definitely make a case for that. Lance Chafin says Dan the creepy foot guy. Ooh. Big S 45 says crossing the door. Oh dear. John Doe is here. Neutron John, how you doing, man? You just jumped, so I'm gonna have to go back a little bit to find you. Um, oh, there you are. Hello. The party may start now. We were actually waiting to start the party. You got here. Steve says, any of my subscriber here, chime in. Yes, please chime in if you were any friends of Steve. By the way, I would like to give Steve's friends a individual hearty welcome. Dennis Leo says, if you're from the any tri-state area, you may be familiar with the Uncle Floyd show back in the 70s and 80s. He was the king of a low-budget burlesque style sketch variety show disguised as a kids show. We got that in Massachusetts for a while. I forget which local affiliate broadcast it, but I loved the Uncle Buck show. Sally, Sally, sitting in a sewing shop. All day long she sits and sews. All day long she sews and yeah, that yeah, I remember Uncle Buck. Had a show on YouTube for a while. Um, the Daily Dan blog says internet issues. Oh well, I'm glad you made it. By the way, so glad you could make it. Sorry you're having internet issues, but welcome to the party, Dan, in all of your forms. Daryl Johnson says some trippy art unprepared. Oh, so you went to Facebook and you found it? Yeah, those are the artworks to which I was describing. Gary Carpenter says, hello there, everyone. I'm back. Yes, and you're here and square. I want to cover all the bases there for you, Gary. Thank you. So glad you could make it. Keith E says you just hit 20. I 21 actually. Thank you, Keith, by the way, for keeping tabs on that. And let's see what else we got going on here. Oh, that was very nice. Lance just subscribed to Life's channel. That was very nice of you. We should all be courteous to each other's shows. Speaking of which, Dan, if you have the capability at this time, please uh, give a few links to our fellow posters. Tom Henry says, "Have a good night." Tom, I'm very, very glad you could make it. Have a great night. Thanks for joining us. Take care. We'll see you very, 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 very soon. Just Leo says New York, tri-state, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And yes, loved the Uncle Floyd show. Gerald John says, please hit the like button. What he said. Uh, do, 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 do. A lot of people saying hello to one another. Ken Wilkinson is here. Good evening, Tracy. Good evening to you, by the way. John Doe says, I remember Count Floyd. Ooh, scary stuff. Who was the one? Count Drakelstein? It was also from Canada. Billy Van show. It was a kid's show, part educational, part entertainment. But again, it was just a bunch of different sketches. And apparently, what he did was they would bulk film them. Like there was one, which is about a witch who did a cooking show, and because the makeup was so heinous to put on, they'd decorate in her makeup, and she'd film like 15 or 20 because the sketches were only 2 to 3 minutes. But she'd do a bunch of her cooking sketches, and then the next day they would do 15 or 20 of another Dr. Pet Vet, where they introduced really cool animals. And when they had enough time with different sketches, they would edit them together into a show and have 15 or 20 shows. Vincent Price used to make appearances on that show. Now that I think of it, Lance James says also Sesame Street, definitely. Uh, Count Frankenstein's Castle. John Doe, thank you very much. That was exactly the show I was talking about. John Doe goes on to say, Count Frankenstein's Castle, call Stan, call Steen Vincent Price. Yes, Vincent Price was in it. And thank you for helping me out there. But I thought that was like the funniest show in the world when I was a kid. Hey, we're holding at 20. Um, Steve, I think some of your people are just being shy. Zublik says, "Why doesn't the Muppet Show get the love?" I love the Muppet Show. I adored the Muppet Show, and it had some of my favorite guests of all time. So, Muppet Show is definitely up there. Gary Carpenter says Gilligan was a vampire. They did a lot of dream sequence spots in Gilligan's Island. That one I think is possibly the funniest one they ever did, where he Gilligan as a vampire has to fight Sherlock and Watson at the end, and they do the Richard Lester style fight where it's sped up, and they use the boom, bash, crash sound effects when someone gets hit. Just hysterical. Keithy says, please mention Big Being. You know he's watching. Um, I'm sorry, Baked Bean. Oh, I mentioned him earlier, but I will again. Baked Bean, so glad you're watching us either live or in replay. Big shout out to Baked Bean, and thank you for all your support. It's always appreciated. Steve says Eugene Levy did an impression of Perry Como. His Perry was so relaxed he sang while laying down on on the stage. That sounds hysterical. I've got to look that up. That sounds hysterical. John Doe says that last was a type O. Type O. Love it. Tracy says, when I was a kid, I used to love the show called Giggle Snort Hotel. It was so funny. My favorite was Blob, the lump of clay. Loved them. My area didn't get Gingle Snort Hotel. I had heard of it, but I never saw it. But I've heard it was very funny. Keys E says, can Denny Proto link up for a sad ending? He needs a couple 100,000 subscribers. Don't we all? That's over 1,000. Emily Miller's here says, sorry I'm late, y'all. I had just started dinner when you came on. No problem. I hope you didn't give yourself indigestion eating too fast. You're right on time. We're just about to start the trivia game. But I'm going to scroll through. Everyone's in hi to Emily, as do I. Oh, she's like, I feel so loved here. You are loved here, as are the rest of you. You guys are my people, and it's so great having you here with us. Ken Wilkins says, good evening, Emily. Good to see you. John Collins says, Bob, can you explain one thing to me? And I'm being completely serious. What is it that the King of England and its territories can actually enact or implement legally? What is the actual role? None. They're basically they're a figurehead. Sense of national pride. Um, on paper, they're supposed to galvanize the nation. Traditionally, what they would do is they would bestow honors on people who had served the country. And they also could declare war. That's not true anymore. So basically, they go around knighting people. And that's pretty much it. I even found something else out. I don't know if any of you heard. There used to be something called At Her Majesty's Pleasure, where in England you could be held for as long as England wanted to hold you. And I used to think that meant that, much like they have presidential pardon here, that the king or queen could pardon you as they saw fit. It doesn't work like that. It's the courts. The king and queen can't just say, I'll let him out. John H says hi, Thrash and all, and hi to you, John H. So glad you could make it. Just about to start the trivia game. I just want to read through these comments so I don't miss anything. Gary Carpenter says Z, and it's not even Valentine's Day. Not even close, actually. Mother's Day is coming up, though, so buy those flowers and cards quickly. Sean Innes says also not necessarily the news and the John Banner show? I don't remember the John Banner show. I think that is right. It was the start of the Super Day, the Osborne skits. Um, did John Banner have his own show? I remember him doing things other than Hogan's Heroes, but I don't remember John Banner having his own variety show. And are you referring to Super Day, a Osborne skit? The Osbournes did very briefly try to bring back the comedy variety show, and it was not a success. Steve says my subs won't listen. I commanded them to tune in and nothing. Oh well, I tried. You did. It was very nice of you to try. Like I said, maybe sometime when you're doing live chat, I could hop on like I did before, and I will beg them to join me. Us. Well, they already joined you, so me. So yeah, we'll put that in the maybe pile. We'll put a pin in that because right now I'm running my show with my 22 dedicated fans, and I'd rather have 22 really dedicated fans than a bigger number of non-dedicated fans. Emily says, "What trivia?" I think I hear Mama calling. It's multiple choice and it's about variety shows. John H says, "I just joined a short time ago." You no, John, you're right on time because I'm just about to start the trivia game. And let's just see here. John Doe jumped off the page. I hate it when that happens. John Doe says, no, oh yeah, Thrash the movie Miracle Mile was a great post-apocalyptic movie. I've never actually seen that. I have to. I've never actually seen it, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. Dennis DeLeo says Uncle Floyd hosts his own shows on stage. It is every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. I did not know that. Excellent. Zuplik says you did your best, life. You certainly did, and I appreciate it very much. Sean Dennis says, "Hey, GC had to step away from the chat. Well, you're back now. Excellent. Steve says, I was queen for a day once. Oh, excellent. John Doe says, the king and queen of England is a figurehead role only. Too true. Well, at now, as you say, no, they they certainly had more power centuries ago, but as now, yeah, that's pretty much just figurehead. Trans Ross Meyer says, it's what are the auspice is of the crown. Okay. Kirk Cameron says, I don't have any life. Crossing says, well, Thrash, except for Henry VIII, I'm head of the church now. Well, yeah, but a lot of things happened to limit royal power since then. Henry VIII was probably absolute ruler, apart from all the people who brought arms against him. Sidney D says, I'm back. I wondered where you were. We hadn't seen any comes in you in a while. I'm so glad you're back. Amy Miller says, I know some queens, but no royalty. But I'm bumped. Tug says, the only queen I care about is Freddie Mercury. My American blood refuses to care about some silly monarch. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, not to mention with all the shenanigans that's happened in the royal family, I'm not about it. I don't want to get into any of the details, but yeah, bye. Shannon says, I believe John Boehner was on Showtime way back when. Really? Okay. I did not know that. I completely did not know that. Del John says the king is the UK head of state. However, his powers are symbolic and ceremonial, and he remains politically neutral. By that, Gary Carver says the only queen I want was Hippolyta of Paradise Island. Fair enough. Daryl Johnson says he receives daily dispatches from the government in a red leather box, including briefings ahead of important meetings or documents needing his signature. Zublik says, you should see how those queens in the meatpacking district in Manhattan, Emily. I'll buy that. Wilkinson says, I watched the coronation, Bob. Tracy Ross Myers watched it too. I didn't see it, but Tracy did. Dennis says, Thrush, do you remember the Koch cats with the world's greatest mimics on the early 70s? I don't. I don't remember that show. Steve says, I remember being in my high chair when I was a wee tot watching Queen for a day while my mother cleaned the house. It must have been around 1959, a little before my time. Uncle Joe says, Yeah, Tug. Yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself. Keith E just jumped off the page. Keith E says, "Hi Kenneth. It took me this long to be able to say thank you for saying hello. My computer is out. You've been having computer issues. Commiserations, lad." Skipping down, John Collins says, however, I'm sure the British people have to absorb the cost and in taxes for having this family as a figurehead. I've waited on a lot of people from England over the years, and that's pretty much what they all say. They go, "We don't care about the royal family. We have to pick up the check for them." Lynn says, "Sorry, my phone glitched. No worries. Glad you're back." Cindy D says, "Queen Camilla, Princess Diane, knew she would never be queen. But neither can Camilla." So the joke's on her. Scrolling down really quickly, just make sure. Oh, sorry, the copycats. I don't recall the copycats either, actually. So either way, I'm not sure I remember them. But anyway, having caught up more or less, if I skipped any comments, by the way, because I had to scroll really quickly, I apologize. Feel free to repeat. It seems like it was mostly just people having fellowship with one another. But I'm going to start the trivia game, and I might have to wing the numbers a little bit because dumb that I am, I didn't write the numbers in this time, so these will truly be in no particular order. God, I'm really wheezy today. I think there's been a pollen bloom. It's been in the 70s last couple of days. But anyway, question number 10. Ed Sullivan was associated with what signature catchphrase? A, how sweet it is. B, suck it to me. C, a really big show. Or D, may tomorrow be a perfect day. I shall repeat. Ed Sullivan was associated with what signature catchphrase? A, how sweet it is. B, suck it to me. C, really big show. And D, may tomorrow be a perfect day. And literally, not figuratively, literally all of you got it. Yes, it was, in fact, C. And again, anecdotally, it is my understanding that he didn't initially say that. It was, the one of the comedians used to imitate him all the time. Used to do it. The one from, oh, what was his name? Anyway, he was in Caddyshack too. Jackie Mason. Jackie Mason said it, and you're really big sure, and it kind of stuck. So Ed used to say it because he felt compelled to. But in any event, yes, you all got it. It is in fact C. Question 9. President Nixon made a cameo appearance on what variety comedy show? Was it A, Ronan Martin's Laugh-In, B, The Smothers Brothers, C, Sonny and Cher, or D, The Sid Caesar Hour? I shall repeat, even though I don't think I'm going to have to. President Nixon made a cameo appearance on what variety show? A, Ronan Martin's Laugh-In, B, The Smothers Brothers, C, Sonny and Cher, or D, The Sid Caesar Hour? And yes, it is A. Sean Ennis, D? No, it's A. But if you're saying D with a question mark, is wondering what that is. Apparently, I was doing some research. Apparently, Sid Caesar had a very, very short comeback variety show in the '64 TV season, and I said to throw it out there because I couldn't use show of shows because it was in a different decade. Nixon wasn't president at the time. Moving forward, what variety show had the dubious honor of being canceled during mid broadcast? Yes, it was actually canceled during an episode. The Chevy Chase Show, B, The Smothers Brothers, C, Starland Vocal Band, or D, Senator Goldwater's Happy Hour? I shall repeat. What variety show had the dubious, dubious honor of being canceled midway through its broadcast? A. The Chevy Chase Show. B. The Smothers Brothers. C. The Starland Vocal Band. Or D. Senator Goldwater's Happy Hour. Oh, really? It actually, people are having trouble with this one, and no one's actually guessing the right one. So this, we got one. John H said maybe B. Uh, John Doe says something that's not garbled. Is my sound bad, by the way? But anyway, yes. B. Apparently, during a broadcast of one episode, the studio decided to cancel the show. And it's my understanding it's the only. Oh yeah, City D says brothers, brothers, lol. Um, it's the only time I believe in American television where they've actually done that. Question 7. Emily goes, well, that was rude. Oh, Joe John says you're loud and clear to me. Good, I'm very relieved. This actually is the microphone that Dave gave me. And you remember I'd stopped using it for a while because I thought it had broken somehow? The adapter I was using was crap. I decided to get a new adapter, and what happened was the adapter wasn't working, so it defaulted to the other microphone. The other microphone was actually on my headset and turned around and backwards, which is why I sounded like I was underwater. But anyway, since I used the new adapter, it seemed to be working fine, so thank you. Zuplik says there was another show that was actually canceled in mid broadcast. Wow. Oh, John H says Turn On was canceled by some stations during its only telecast on February 5th, 1969. Wow. Wow, thank you very much. Oh, John H says, did Senator Goldwater really have his own variety show? No, I totally made that up. I totally made that up. It just I was going to use that with Nixon, but I'm like, no, that would throw too many people off. But I love the idea of the Senator Goldwater happy hour, so I have to use it somewhere. But no, I completely construed that. But anyway, yes, it was the Smothers Brothers or B. Oh, Super League's turn on was awful. Question 7. Sonny and Cher's child, who made several appearances on their show, was named what? A. Chastity. B. Charity. C. Philanthropy. Or D. Fellowship. I shall repeat. Sonny and Cher's child, who made several appearances on their show, was named what? A. Chastity. B. Charity. C. Philanthropy. Or D. Fellowship. And a lot of you have already given the proper answer. Yes, Chastity was the name of their child. Question 6. The first guest on the Brady's Variety Hour, on the Brady's Variety Show was the power couple whom? Was it A, Ozzie and Harriet, B, Burt Reynolds and Dinah Shore, C, Captain and Tennille, or D, Lee Majors and Farrah Fawcett? I shall repeat. The first guest on the Brady's Variety Show was what power couple? A, Ozzie and Harriet, B, Burt Reynolds and Dinah Shore, C, Captain and Tennille, or D, Lee Majors and Farrah Fawcett? Couple of you guys got it? Oh, Johnny says, though Tony Rendell was the main guest on the original pilot show. Did I know that? I don't think if I did, I don't recall. Some of you get it. Yeah, Wajimeen got it, John's got it, and Dell's got it. A few others have got it. It was actually Lee Majors and Farrah Fawcett. The premise is they had rented the house first and had it sold out from under them, but needed to stay there for a weekend because they couldn't get a hotel room. It was very silly. But yeah, Lee Majors and Farrah Fawcett were the guests on the first aired episode of the Brady Variety Show. That was question 6, wasn't it? Yes. So anybody want to give scores? Yes, you do. You're already giving them. Zero Blex is 3 for 5. Tug is 3 for 5. Gary Carpenter is 4 for 5. Terry Thomas Myers is Lee and Farrah Fawcett. Oh, yes, you are correct. Sean Ennis is 2 of 5. John H is 6 of 6. Apparently, we're giving each other bonus questions, but okay, I'll grant it. City D is 4 for 5. Crossing the Door is at 60%, which would, by my calculations, be 3 of 5. John H is 5 of 5. Excellent. Dennis DeLeo is 3 of 5. Keith E is 4 out of 5. That's excellent. You're all doing solid. You're all doing pretty well. Gary Carpenter says Steve and Jill. Hello, Steve and Jill. Emily Miller says I missed one. Well, you're actually doing very, very well, Emily. You see, you were all worried, and you're doing very well. And is that for scores? That could be it for scores. That could be it for scores. Oh, Wilkinson is 3 of 5. Wilkinson. I'm sorry, I don't know where that came from. Yes, I do. Forrest Gump. John Doe says, got to go. See you next time, Thresh. John, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great time, and I'll talk to you real soon, by the way. Keep in touch, by the way. Dennis Leo says Goldwater and Tennille. Is it true about those two? And a lot of people saying good night to John. Excellent. Yes, John, good night. Thank you for coming by tonight. It's always nice to have you. I guess Danny's still having technical issues because he hasn't been able to come back. Well, Danny, if you can hear me, hey. If you can't hear me, shout out. Hopefully, we'll see you in replay. Or you won't know I gave you a shout out. Okay, question 5. Tony Orlando's background singers were referred to as what? A, the Afternoon Delights. B, the Midnight Oases. C, the Angels in the Morning. Or D, you guys are already saying it before I even give all the answers. Dawn. Yes. I'm still going to reread it. But yes, you guys are 100% correct. Tony Orlando's background singers were referred to as A, the Afternoon Delights. B, the Midnight Oasis. C, the Angel in the Morning. Or D, Dawn. And yes, you got it. One of them, I believe, actually went on to do Bosom Buddies. I can't remember her name, but yeah, she was property manager or something like that, and their friend. But yes, Dawn it is. Okay, future late night icon was I'm here. What future late night icon was a supporting character on Starland Vocal Band's show? Was it A, Jay Leno, B, David Letterman, C, Joe Piscopo, or D, Chris Elliott? I shall repeat. What future late night TV icon was a supporting character on the Starland Vocal Band's variety show? A, Jay Leno, B, David Letterman, C, Joe Piscopo, or D, Chris Elliott? I'll give you guys a couple of you got the right answer. I'm not going to say which one. 11 settings says Arthur Treacher. Arthur Treacher seafood feature. Johnny says she was also in Family Members and Getting By. Excellent tidbits. Thank you. Well, people are giving a lot of different answers, but for those of you who said B or Jay Leno, bite my tongue, B or David Letterman, you are correct. David Letterman wrote for the show and was a supporting character. Question 3. Oh, Johnny says, oops. Question 3. Paul Lynde was a fixture on what 70s variety show? A, Sonny and Cher. B, Tony Orlando and Dawn. C. Donnie and Marie, or B. The Brady Bunch Variety Hour? I shall repeat. Paul Lynde was a fixture on what 70s variety show? A. Sonny and Cher, B. Tony Lando and Dawn, C. Donnie and Marie, or D. The Brady Bunch Variety Hour? A lot of you got this one. Oh, Cindy says she shut your mouth in the song Chef. I never knew that. And I assumed you meant sung, but I never knew she's the one who sang Shut Your Mouth. I knew she'd done other background vocal work, but I'd never known. Wow, that's excellent. Tug says it's bound to be C eventually. Across it says Paul Lynde, the dirty joke guy from Hollywood Squares. Yes, yes, it is. It was, in fact, Paul Lynde was on the Donnie and Marie show. Question 2. What variety host experienced a comeback when one of his hits became a first Gulf War anthem? Was it A. Sonny Bono, B. Tony Orlando, C. Donny Osmond, or D. Tommy Smothers? I shall repeat. What variety show host experienced a major comeback when one of his hits became a first Gulf War anthem? Was it A. Sonny Bono, B. Tony Orlando, C. Donny Osmond, or D. Tommy Smothers? Yeah, and Keith even gave it to us in song, as did John H. and a few others. Tie a yellow ribbon. Yes, remember we all wore the yellow ribbons during the first Gulf? But yeah, he experienced a renaissance because of, in fact, remember the celebrations after the war? He sang, was it the last full measure of demotion, last full level of demotion, the last full measure of devotion. But anyway, it was in fact uh, B. Tony Orlando. Um, Around the same time, Cindy, Donny Osborne, Donny Osmond did have a comeback with some hit, but it was a new hit. It wasn't a re-release, although he did have a re-release, but it wasn't a Gulf War anthem. So no, in fact, in this case, it was Tony Orlando. Crossan says, "I don't remember a song in the first Gulf War." Oh, there were several. The whole thing was about a resurgence in patriotism. But anyway, question 1: what '60s pop band was denied its own variety show? A. The Archies, B. The Beatles, C. The Cowsills, or D. The Monkees? I shall repeat. Cindy D says, I thought the Donny Osmond's hit became a hit as well, but not as a Gulf War anthem. Was it Puppy Love that was released around that time? You got me thinking now too. But Puppy Love wasn't a Gulf War anthem. I shall repeat. What '60s pop band was denied its own variety show? A. The Archies, B. The Beatles, C. The Cowsills, and D. The Monkees. For those of you who said the Cowsills, the funny thing is, I actually got the question wrong myself. I circled the wrong right answer. It's actually D. The Monkees. They wanted to stop doing the Richard Lester style comedy show and turn their show into a comedy variety show with guest entertainers like Frank Zappa and the Shondells. And Don Kirshner said no way, and that they'd be in breach of contract. And there was a big brouhaha. And Mike Nesmith actually put his fist through the wall and said, "That's your face," because he was so angry at not being able to be worked with. Gary Carpenter says, my mom loved the song from the Green Berets, Fighting Children. Yep, I know that one. Tug says, "I never heard of C. You never heard of the Cowsills? They actually little story. Their story is they were supposed to be the Partridge Family. They were actually from Rhode Island, and they rode around in a bus, and they were four brothers and a sister, but they were a family band. And originally, Hollywood wanted to make a show about them. The problem is they wanted to recast the mother, who they didn't think was Hollywood. Speaking of Hollywood mothers, Hollywood mother enough. She kind of looked like Cloris Leachman. They wanted someone who looked like Shirley Jones. So they said, "We'll recast your mother and give you the show." And the council said, "No, you're not recasting our mother. Sorry." So they walked, and they network created the Partridge Family as well. Instead, the Beatles had their own cartoon show around this time, and of course, the Archies, as you all know, the Archies got the song that the Monkeys were supposed to do, "Sugar Sugar." But yeah, the Cowsills, they had a few hits. Oh, one of the Cowsills drowned after Hurricane Katrina. Wow, interesting fact. Very sad. Very sad. Steve says Shirley was a looker in Elmer Gantry. She was a very attractive young woman. Sean Innes says I saw a documentary about the Cowsills, but was unaware of them otherwise. They had a few hits. They did a great cover of the song "Hair" from the rock opera Hair. A musical, not a rock opera. But of course, I'm splitting hairs. They had that flower song. Oh, the flower girl. Um, they had a few hit songs. In the top 40, but that's all I can think of off the top of my head. Dennis DeLeo says Tony Orlando was kidnapped last night, but he found at the but he was found at the crack of dawn. I'm going to repeat that one because I have to deliver it better. Tony Orlando was kidnapped last night, but he was found at the crack of dawn. Emily Miller says she's still quite attractive. Yes, she certainly is. Derek Evans says life. She was better in The Music Man. She was very attractive in that, wasn't she? Keith E says 8 out of 10 in case I didn't make it across my ETA 10 monkeys. If you guys want to give final scores too, by the way, feel free. Steve says the park and other things. Gary Cameron says I loved Achilles. Arch. Oh, I love the Archies. I'm sorry, it jumped. I was reading it. I love the Archies. Daryl Jones says hair was the best. It really was. Emily Miller says Sean Cassidy posted a picture of her recently. Excellent. Steve says, "What kind of wood doesn't float?" I don't know. Why don't you tell me? Johnny says, "The rain in the park and other things." Number two in 1967, the Cowsills song about the flower girl. Thank you, thank you. Very good. I knew I could count on one of you to actually give me all the deets. Cindy D says she's in her 80s. She certainly is. Oh, Mr. Wilkinson is 5 out of 10. John H 9 out of 10. I think I'll give it to you. Cindy D is 8 for 10. Emily Miller is Natalie. Gary Carmen is I love the groovy ghoulies. Oh, I love the groovy ghoulies. Um. Steve says, "LOL, forget it." um. Oh, a Natalie Wood. That just popped into my head. Oh, that's sick. You're sick. There's something wrong with you. Gary Carpenter says 9 out of 10. Too soon. Too soon. Dennis Leo is 6 of 10. Tug says, "LOL, I think I know the answer for shame." But we're all laughing. Emily says, "I got it live." Gary Carpenter says, "T-Pawns. Ouch." Sean in this, yes. For those of you who haven't got the joke yet, he says to Natalie Wood. Sick, sick. We should be ashamed of ourselves. Keithy, for 20 people in the chat, the lines are just flying, bro. Flying by, bro. They certainly are. Cotton Eye Joe. Crossing the door says fiberboard. That doesn't, well, that could float. It would eventually absorb water and sink. John H says 40 plus years is too soon. That's part of the joke. Well, you remember in one of my dad jokes, I said, "What did Caesar say when Brutus stabbed him?" Ouch! And then I said, "Too soon." Sorry, I hope I'm not coming down with something. I hope it's just allergies, but still. Emily Miller says, "I have no shame," which of us do. And Doug says, "We know him. We know." Just goes on to say, "Anyway, Tug." And Gary comments that most of us do. Steve says, "Why don't Natalie Wood take a shower on the boat?" The world may never know. Keithy says, "What's another name for Dr. Pepper, physician?" The name for Dr. Pepper, physician. Okay. Dr. Ground Pepper? I don't know. Cindy D says the name is, I'm sorry, the same. I'll come in again. Cindy D says the same is she didn't like water. That's the weirdest part about the whole thing. Clearly, they were having a fight, but she was definitely afraid of water. So the idea in the middle of the night, that she would get into that little tiny boat with her jacket over her nightie just made absolutely no sense to me. Absolutely no sense whatsoever. Um. Oh, Steve. She wanted to wash up on the shore. I I can't. I just can't. Dennis Leo says she already washed ashore. Zach, I can't. My mind. Gary Cameron said Cindy. She made a movie with Robert Redford. Cindy D says the shame is she didn't like water. Indeed, indeed. Tom says on break, just saying hi. So glad you could. So glad you could. Crossing says she must have had a brainstorm. Ouch. Emily says that's why I don't get in boats. Me neither. Afraid of sharks too. We have great whites here in Cape Cod now too, in the ocean for the most part. So Didi says, "What's the name?" Gary Carpenter. Tug says, "You gotta admit he makes videos about celebrities and their sad endings. So of course he'd have some sick jokes ready." That's an excellent point. You probably heard them all in your comments because people are sick and love to put sick things in comments. So yes, but Natalie Wood, it's so sad. She had such a tragic life. It's really sad. Um, Life says, when you did the crack of dawn, you opened the door. He certainly did. He certainly did. Keithy says Dave banned Spike her soon for the joke about Natalie Woods. Uh, Tracy says, "Have a nice night, guys." Yeah, I'm actually starting to get kind of like stuffy, so I think I might have to bail on this one a little bit early tonight, guys. Yeah, like my passages are getting a little stuffed up, and I'm getting a little scratchy. So, Tracy, I will use you as a Trojan horse to bail. Anyway, I want to say thank you guys all for showing up tonight. I had a great time. I'm so glad you guys could all make it. Be good, be safe, be careful. I haven't had a chance to talk to um, EMC over the weekend. I'd like to think we got something going on. Oh, Sean says I mentioned just before the trivia. It was about John Biner, and his show was called Bizarre. John Biner. I was thinking John Banner, as in Hogan's Heroes. John Biner, the comic. I am such a dum dum. Thank you. Yes, of course I know who John Biner is. Cindy D says, "Feel better, Thrash." Thank you so much. And Sean, thank you for clearing it up because now I finally understand what we were talking about. Gary Cameron says, "I think it was Splendor in the Grass." Dennis Lou says, "Gotta go, guys and gals. Good night, Thrash, and all my fellow Thrashers." Yeah, a lot of people saying good night to each other. Tug says, "Eat more yogurt." A lot of people saying good night. Kitty says there's a ugly storm about 20 miles from ENC's house right now. We'll have to think positively. Uh, John H says, I thought you were talking about House Speaker John Bonner. uh, oh, and Shauna says, sorry, I misspelled it, Thrash. It's quite all right. It was my confusion as much as your misspelling. I mean, I really had John Banner stuck in my head. Probably spell check had something to do with it. Garrett Gabber says, good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are. But anyway, guys, again, be good, be safe, be careful. If I can't do something with ENC tomorrow, I will do a another solo show. Might be brief if I'm not feeling up to it. But anyway, either way, I hope to see you guys all again tomorrow. And until then, take care. Peace.